Oh, thanks for your attention. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the Committee of the Whole. For roll call, we have West, Jones, Hess, Cares, Wilkins, Armstrong, myself, Dabari, and Hedall. And we do have minutes to approve from June 28th. Yes? Yes, we do. From the 21st. I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Are there any corrections to the minutes from the 21st? Seeing none, they're approved. Is there any public comment on items not listed on the agenda today? Seeing none, we'll just go ahead to our regular agenda item, which is an update and discussion with the UM Ambassadors Program. I'm going to let John Dabari introduce this because it was his referral.
Sure. So I decided it was worthwhile to invite Jordan, who's a new hire, I guess, at the university at ASUM, and have him give us an update on what was going on. And this was precipitated by a phone call that I got from a constituent who was looking for some help with some student renters, and a subsequent phone call that I had with the previous director of the ambassador program, who said that they didn't do outreach to for folks outside of the university district. And so I thought, well, this would be a good time to hear about, well, have Jordan be able to introduce himself, hear more about the program, and have a conversation for what's possible in terms of outreach for student renters and potential issues that are existing in other places in the community besides just in the university area.
I was also going to introduce our new ASUM president and vice president, Braden and Brenna, and I forgot your last names. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Here, I can turn on the mic real quick. So my name is Braden Fitzgerald, and I'm the ASUM president.
And I'm Brenna Love. I'm the new vice president.
Great. It's great to see you guys. I hope we see you more throughout the year. So thanks for coming down. And my friend Jordan Lyon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
This one's always on.
So we're going to have a PowerPoint for about 15 minutes, and then hopefully there'll be a lot of time for discussion. We started about 5 minutes late. Hopefully we can stay 5 minutes late. So let's go. Thanks,
okay.
Jordan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, John, for inviting me today. And thank you so much, Braden and Brenna, for being here today. I am Jordan Lyons, and I'm the new director of the ASUM Renter Center. And the UM Neighborhood Ambassador Program is a program of my office. I'll just start out by telling you a little bit about myself. It's easy to remember. My name is Jordan. I work for ASUM, but I'm not to be confused with Jordan Hess. I'm the other Jordan around the office, so you can call me Other Jordan. Just a little bit about me. I'm new to this position, but I am not new to this community or to these issues. I started in June, but I've lived and worked in Missoula for the past 10 years. I've worked as a housing specialist and a property manager. I coordinated the housing program at Missoula AIDS Council way back in the day before it was Open Aid Alliance. I've worked at the Housing Authority, and I most recently worked at Missoula Aging Services. So a lot of different perspectives on housing issues around the community, and a lot of experience helping all different kinds of low-income people with their housing needs. I am a Grizz alum. I got my Master of Public Administration from the University of Montana. And also, one more lens for me to look at these issues through, I am a homeowner in the University District. I live in Ward 4. My wife and I own a home there. So just to, before we dive into talking about, parking and garbage and barking dogs and all those wonderful things, I want to just kind of get that little perspective about the value of the University of Montana and the value it has to the city. So, we all know the university is Missoula's largest employer, and it's also the source of a lot of our wonderful trained, skilled workforce here in town. Also, according to the Bureau of Business and Economic Research, out-of-town students, non-resident students, spend $49 million per year in Montana in addition to their tuition. So that's money they're spending in restaurants and on rent and at shops in town. And then I think we can all agree, too, that the university enhances Missoula's culture and quality of life. So I've got a little photo there of a dance performance on campus, and I don't know if you know, but the university even has a football team these days. They're actually pretty good. So, just a little reminder there. But with that said, realistically, there are impacts of the University of Montana, right? The neighbors experience impacts, and so those include noise, especially at night, parties or conversations at night, speeding and traffic in communities. Gwen just mentioned to me that it sounds like there's maybe some drag racing or passing or something going on in the university district, and that's something I very much look forward to hearing more about. So I hope you'll introduce me to the person who contacted you about that. Parking, of course, it's funny to walk in the door and everybody's talking about parking in the university district. That seems to be an evergreen issue. We do have issues with pets sometimes, and then waste and blight. I wanted a good picture for this, but not one that was picking on anybody too much with their front door in it. So I took this the other day at CS Porter, and that's one way to get rid of a couch, but probably not the best way. I'm sure Allied didn't appreciate that, or Republic. In a few years ago, some of these issues kind of came to a head, and the city, the university president, and the ASUM president at that time signed a memorandum of understanding to create a community quality of life initiative. And that's a great document to take a look back at. I was looking at it as I prepared for this, and it does talk a lot about parking and housing and all kinds of issues. And it also talks explicitly about the Neighborhood Ambassador Program, and it says these entities will work together to expand ASUM's Neighborhood Ambassador Program and the university's community outreach and public safety. This includes educating and enforcing code around such issues as speeding, underage drinking at parties, parking, littering, animal welfare, parks and trails patrols, neighbor-to-neighbor relations, noise, and more. Hence we have our Neighborhood Ambassador Program. And so these are a team of one group leader and about 7 to 10 students who work part-time as neighborhood ambassadors and other volunteers, including other student groups. And they do a lot of different activities to improve quality of life around the university district and the community. And so some of the things that we do in this program are welcome bags for student renters about being good neighbors. So that's where we actually give a welcome bag to a homeowner, and then they give it to their neighbor who's a student renter. And it's got all kinds of information about their rights and responsibilities as renters. We also do neighborhood canvases in response to complaints. So we do send people to do outreach to mediate a complaint. We've had trainings in the past from the Community Dispute Resolution Center and NCBI, or Empower Montana. We also contribute to the Sunday sweepers cleanups after football games. We all know people have a great time at the football games, but as you're leaving, you probably see, if you take a walk through the neighborhood, there are cans and cups and other garbage. And this is a great program where students come through and pick up some of that garbage. So you can see that photo in the top right there. There's just one of our weekly Sunday sweepers. We also contribute to landscaping some of the traffic circles. So we have all those lovely traffic circles, and they really do, in my opinion, help quite a bit on issues like speeding. And they're just that much nicer if we can keep them looking good with nice trimmed living plants. They also work with the Missoula Police Department's Quality of Life Officer to remove graffiti, and you can see a student there working on removing some graffiti. That's a nice twofer because she's working on graffiti on a traffic circle, so that's a very, very efficient photo for this presentation. And another thing that we do is providing rakes and snow shovels to student renters. I think that is a really super program because we could deal with that in a totally reactive way by getting all these students citations. But how much better is it to educate students about their responsibilities and prevent slips and falls and things like that? Make sure that if a student's going away for winter break, that they've got that covered. And I just think that's a very proactive way to handle that issue. We also do events. We do the neighborhood block party, which kind of contributes to those positive town and gown relationships. There's a photo of Jane Kelly on a tricycle at the block party. She said it was okay for me to put that on there. We also, one event we do is the campus thrift, which you can see right there. Is great because it helps people get affordable clothing and furniture and housewares, but makes such a big difference to neighborhoods too, because look at all that stuff that is not ending up on the curb, right? So just a great event there. Another one we don't have pictured is the pumpkin smash, where after Halloween people can bring in their jack-o'-lanterns and smash them and have fun, and those end up going to compost instead of sitting and rotting and becoming a compost pile on somebody's porch. So another activity we do, and this goes hand in hand with the canvassing, is our newsletter. That is something we deliver in person to University District residents. It's a way we get that face-to-face interaction going with the residents. We also send it out via email and make it available on our website. Jane distributes it to the neighborhood councils, and the topics have included things like leaf raking and snow shoveling, the city's voluntary residential inspection program, move-out tips, and community events, both those that we sponsor and other events around the community. Those are activities that we do, and you'd be right to point out that those are pretty university district centric. I'll tell you that my outlook on that situation that John described to me of someone not getting service because they don't live in the university district is we always want to respond to issues wherever they occur in the community. So, if someone calls me and they live on the west side or in the Rattlesnake, we want to respond to that. That's a higher priority than planning for the next hypothetical issue that may arise in the university district. So that, I really hope that as you get those kinds of complaints or issues coming up, I hope that you will get in touch with me or encourage your constituents to get in touch with me, because we want to handle those. And, I would say, on the other hand, the reason that the events and things like that are kind of centered around the university district is that, we know it's predictable that that's kind of an epicenter of, student tensions between students and their neighbors. So that's a great place to plan to do things, but we definitely want to respond to anything that comes up in the community. A lot of things that we do, I'll say too, reach people community-wide. So things that we post on our social media, our website, our blog, or go out via email, those are obviously going to reach people all over the community. A lot of what we do also is reaching students on campus, so that's going to reach students who live in the dorms as well as students who live all over town. We've got a picture there of Bailey, our chair of our ASUM Housing Board, tabling at the summer orientation a couple weeks ago. One thing we really want to do with that, we do renter education in the dorms each spring. So we don't want students, moving off campus and learning all these things the hard way. We want them, prepared when they move off campus, understanding their rights and their responsibilities to their neighbors. We also do outreach to neighborhood councils. I plan to continue what my predecessors have done of attending each university district neighborhood council meeting, and then once a year attending each of the other ones. The university district is where I live, so as a citizen, it's my neighborhood council. And then we will continue to look for citywide media opportunities, which we have occasionally, and we'll certainly continue to pursue that, because the more we can get out there, the more we can make students and homeowners and residents aware of our services and get them calling us in instead of suffering in silence or just getting in a big argument with a neighbor. All right. So, thinking about the future, I highlighted a few topics we've done outreach on before. Some ideas I have for the future. There were some identified by the University District Neighborhood Council. They have a great rundown, and I'll keep my eye out for other lists like that from other neighborhood councils, but it's right front and center on the University District's page. They voted that some of their top concerns are dealing with urban deer, which is certainly a concern in the University District. This picture was taken in my living room, so that's the view from my house, and I think that's something we can definitely help with. Tourist homes were another issue, and maintaining neighborhood trees. Some areas that I have some experience with that I would like to help do some outreach about, based on my professional experience, and our transportation. We also, in our funding request, committed to make transportation a high priority topic for the Neighborhood Ambassador program this year. I personally have a lot of experience with property tax relief, and I'm very passionate about connecting low-income homeowners and renters with that. Housing subsidies and energy assistance. We've featured LEAP from time to time in weatherization, and I'd like to continue doing that. Help and volunteer opportunities from Imagine Missoula. Imagine Missoula can make a huge difference, especially for older homeowners, and helping them keep their home maintained, keep the leaves raked and the snow shoveled. Definitely want to focus too on yard sales, giveaways, and waste. And when this is not really professional experience, but kind of a hobby of mine is reporting junk vehicles. So I used to live on the west side where I was, I would be reporting them like weekly. We do see them once in a while in the university neighborhood too, so definitely a priority everywhere, especially somewhere where parking is so scarce. And one I didn't put on here, but I've kind of had rolling around in my mind is I would love to do something about little free libraries, and I was excited to see that Michelle Cares has a little free library, so maybe that's something we could talk about in the future. Oh, great.
I have one too.
Yeah, great. Wow, and Julie also.
Julie has one too.
Wow, very nice.
Yep.
So, that's a little bit about the program and a few of my ideas, but, I really also would like to have some time to hear from you and your ideas and input. And Braden and Brenna, too, if you want to jump in also, that would be really great. So thanks for having me. Are there questions or comments?
Yeah, let's take some time for questions. We have up to 10 minutes. John Wilkins.
So not a question, but we started the rental safety program when I talked to you. In the past, we used to be invited, and we set up a table during certain times of the year when students are singing. I'd love to do that again. Don Veru used to do it with me. I can't speak for him, but if he has time, I'm sure he'd do it again. And we look forward to that program. And as far as students in the Lewis and Clark area, the girl in the past that was running that actually helped us out a few times there. So
great.
And hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah, and I would love to do outreach about.
I got one on 39th Street right now, but I got to check it out and make sure it's students. So.
All right.
Okay, other questions for Jordan or Brenna or Braden, Julie, and then John DeBari?
I'm pretty involved with Imagine Missoula, so the more students that we can get involved in that, I'd love to help. There's always a constant need, and it's growing, and also you can also call Missoula Aging Services and let them know that people are available to help out too.
Great.
John?
So for our edification, you had mentioned a couple of different programs. There's the welcome bags, rakes and snow shovels, are those available to any student in the city, or is it for students in the University District primarily or exclusively? And so you can fill me in on that. And then the next question I had was, you mentioned the email newsletter. Is that something that gets sent out to every off-campus student, or is that just, who's the targeted list for that?
Sure. So those are great questions. So, and to answer your first question, the snow shovels, the welcome bags, those are certainly available to any student who's living, or a neighbor who's living off campus in the case of the bags. And yeah, no geographic boundary on that. As far as the email newsletter, that's something that has gone a couple of different ways, and I have a little bit of a different idea of how to do it. It's a general interest newsletter for anybody in the community, and one thing that's been done in the past is have a resident edition and a student edition, and so that's something we'll explore exactly how that should work. But my thought on it going forward is that the neighborhood ambassador newsletters are really, the audience for that is really just residents with like a special focus on issues that may come up when you're a neighbor of a student. And then I would like to, and so we also have a website and social media and email list for just the ASUM Renter Center. So my thought is that should be like very student-centric, and with the one other audience sometimes of landlords, but like, very focused on students who live off campus or are thinking about living off campus. And then the neighborhood ambassador stuff, in my opinion, should be in general aimed at the community at large.
Yeah, and I can speak to that briefly. Any student at the University of Montana who pays the ASUM activity fee has full use to any of the resources we have, be it transportation, the renter center, legal service, no matter where they live or their situation. As long as they pay the activity fee, we're always going to make sure they have equal access across the board.
Can you just explain what the Neighborhood Ambassador Program is? We have some newer members on council. I don't know if everybody has had a presentation from the Neighborhood Ambassadors. How many do you have? Who are they? And can they start coming back once a month or something? We used to like to get those updates.
Yeah, I think it would be great to do that. And I think my feeling is for you, it's probably a lot more interesting to hear from different students each month than hear from me all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited to get that going. So the neighborhood ambassadors are actually the paid folks who coordinate these activities, like the outreach, the events, and they're students who work very part-time. They work 5 or 10 hours a week to get these tasks done. There's one leader who has usually been a grad student, and 7 to 10 neighborhood ambassadors who are students who live off campus. And they've usually been, since University of Montana requires most freshmen to live on campus, so they're usually, from sophomores to seniors. And during the summer, not surprisingly, we don't have any neighborhood ambassadors on staff, but that's something we'll be ramping up and recruiting them later this summer and into the fall.
Great. And for the newer council members, that we pay, I think it's $10,000 a year from our city general fund budget to help pay for the ambassadors program.
Right. That's
and
great.
I would like to comment that since we started that, since Ingstrom and Zach Brown and Mayor Engen signed that agreement and the ambassador program got going and we cost shared it, I feel like we hear a lot fewer complaints about conflicts. So problems are solvable. John?
And I think we did the rake and shovels too through the neighborhood council grant program.
Right.
So,
yep.
Are you running out of rakes and shovels? That was a while ago. So.
I think that's just something that they're not going to last forever. They need to be kind of refreshed once in a while.
Maybe we ought to talk about it again in the neighborhood forum.
Yes.
And always check first at Home Resource so
yes.
you can get some recycling in the program too. Last question goes to Jordan Hess.
more of a comment. I think that this is one of the biggest values. I'm not just saying this because my boss is here, but I think this is one of the biggest values we get. I've had the opportunity I've known Jordan for the better part of a decade in other capacities, I guess, and I'm really excited to have him at the university. But the Neighborhood Ambassador program relies very heavily on student labor, which is, first of all, is the cheapest labor force that you will find. It's the most enthusiastic labor force you'll ever find, and it's a great, it's a wonderful learning opportunity, and I think we couldn't spend this $10,000 in any better way.
Now John DeBari wants the last word. Go ahead. It was.
I want to thank you, and this really helps clarify what it is that you're interested in doing, and gives us all a refresher on what's going on. And so I had tickled, a technical term, tickled, this item for our budget, because we do contribute to the program, and I wasn't sure whether or not there was a need for additional funding, or whether or not we could accommodate the services that you want to provide. But I think it looks like we can for the $10,000, and I think, like others have said, it's money well spent. And thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Any public comment on this? All right. Thanks. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Don't forget your stickers.
Yeah, oh yeah. I have stickers too if anyone wants a Neighborhood Ambassador sticker.
So, the